When I remember back, so I was sort of I started school probably the 77 and left in 88. One of the key features that I remember about the school is that we've always had a swimming pool, although it certainly feels like it's in a different place, but I think the layout has changed. So the grade 9, 10 rooms are they're not much different to when I was at school. Maybe the heating's a bit better, the lighting's a bit better, but still very similar in their setup and structure and the layout. I know the science room used to be where our staff room is currently. And I can remember doing drama in those rooms as well and looking out to what used to be a tennis court. The kindergarten was actually, we didn't have kinder back then, and we had we had morning kinder and afternoon kinder, something like that, and it was based on the middle of the year was the cut-off date. So I'm a July baby, so it was I was sort of the oldest person in the class, and we did morning and afternoon kinder. But the room, which is the Prep 1 Chisholm currently, was actually my kindergarten room. And same, that room, the actual layout and the outdoor space and that isn't very different in terms of the way the condition of the room is obviously been painted and fixed up and all those sorts of things, but the structures are very similar. Oh, lots of terrapins. We used to have lots of terrapins. We used to have the big hedge and the oval. So the oval didn't have the Child and Family Centre and the CFLC and all of those things. It was just this great big oval with where we watched the local footy and had the big hedge that sort of separated it. Yeah. Oh gosh, I hope I've made a difference to children. The beauty of teaching in the early years is you get to watch children grow. So you end up with quite a special relationship with little people, and that often stays with them the whole life. So you often get to check back in with kids, and even when I follow up behaviour in the classrooms now, the kids will talk about situations where, oh, do you remember Mrs. Crossingham when you read this story? Or do you remember, I remember when you did this, or shared that. So I think being a person that they can connect back into and have had a really good experience with that you're a person that they can feel connected to would be my legacy. And how to read a good story, because I love books and love stories. Yeah.
What did you do there?
I see camps used to be a huge part of what we did in schools, and obviously with risk assessment and all those things happening now, that's changed a lot. Couple of key ones that we did the Winnalia Sports Exchange up at Winnalia, and they'd come down to us, and you actually got billeted out and you got to stay in someone else's home, and then you'd play sports either days of that. And that's one of the best experiences I remember of school doing that. We also got to do a lot of the nature outdoor excursions. So I think in our grade 10 year, we actually went down to Coles Bay and the Freycinet and did this massive walk. And then, you could swim and you could do all of those sports as well. So that's continued probably up until recently in our schools. We also used to do things, I was telling my daughter about this, we used to do things called a walkathon. I don't know if kids would even know what that is now, but we get sponsors, so you could get money to raise money for the school. So we're not allowed to do that sort of thing anymore. And we'd walk 10 Ks up Flagstaff and round through the bush and other places like out at Dora's Point. There's no way that could happen now with all the risk assessments. But they're actually one of the memories, that often pop up and that we talk about. So lots of great experiences in that space. In being inclusive and the disability space is that we've learnt as teachers to make adjustments for our kids in lots of different ways. With more research with the brain, we're understanding a lot more how children learn and what environments they need to be in to thrive in schools. Have we got everything right? No, but I do think we are working towards making changes and more informed decisions, such as the trauma-informed space, understanding the backgrounds and the impact of those things. Our curriculum's just getting bigger and bigger, and that is something that's really tricky, and our job is, I would say, a lot harder, a lot more difficult than what it was when I started teaching 30 years ago. I certainly maybe didn't have the experience or the understanding as a young adult then that I do now, and I know the department's trying very hard to educate us, and I guess it gets a bit blurry sometimes about where it begins at school and at home, and trying to find a really nice balance. But what we do know is working with families is the absolute most important thing that we do, and that we provide an environment that all children can thrive and do well and succeed in learning.
Good.
There are lots of amazing teachers. I don't think there wasn't a teacher in my whole teaching career that either did or didn't teach me what I would need in the future. And I guess my early childhood teachers definitely brought to the front a passion for books and reading, and wanting to be a school teacher. So there was Mrs. Edith Kane, who used to drive in her combi van, had this red hair, and could tell, the most amazing stories. I can still remember her reading a story called Water Babies, and it's just, lying there and listening to her do an oral retell. So I've always loved that. I think we've had some teachers that have been, I remember Reg Wally, or Stephen Wally, we call him Reg. He was really influential in the sporting space for me, and he was my grade 5-6 teacher, and I remember being involved with East North East and all of that then, and that has carried over, sport and being involved in sporting clubs and the community to what I do today. And I definitely think he's had a great impact, and still does to this day. I remember John Marshall as my grade 9-10 maths teacher, but also as my principal, and we often reflect and talk about the past and the future, and as a student and those things, and checks in. Teachers, when you grow in a small community, check in to see where you are now and what's happening and how you're going with things, and that's what I love best about this community, and why I chose to raise my kids here in St Helens and to go to that same school and be connected to our community. There's challenges with that some days, but most of the time, I couldn't think of a better place for my children to go to school, but also to raise my family in a place like St Helens. I'm excited for our future. I'm excited that potentially, with the school will continue to grow and get bigger, and what it offers in the 11 and 12 space to keep our children here. They don't have to go off necessarily to Launceston. I'm excited about the direction the department's going at the moment around teaching and learning, and what they're providing for teachers to try and support teachers rather than just adding things to us. I'm excited if there's a new facility in the horizon, whether that will, come about as our school has continued to grow and get bigger. We're running out of space, and so to continue building and providing for that's something that we need to look at in the future. And I'm excited for teaching another generation of children. I've got 10 years left, I reckon. It gets harder, but to continue to be connected with families, I'm really looking forward to that. I would absolutely do my time over again in the 80s space. I think as I've watched and grown and become a teacher and learned about education in kids, whilst the curriculum probably could have been a lot better, and maybe even opportunities. I think when I left St Helens, we were one of the first group that actually went on, where the majority of students actually went on to further education. Prior to that, even the year group above, a lot went on straight into work or into those places. So my group was pretty lucky like that. And I guess when you go with a group of kids, or you're fortunate to fall in that year group, you get exposed to more opportunities. So I think that was really one of the value of being in the 80s. I think technology, I'm not a fan. they, I wouldn't like to be in the space and have to negate the things that kids have to do now. There's so much research about the impact of technology, and it's going too fast. The 80s, it was crazy. You know, it was nature, and you did things as families, and we live in the best place in the world. We have the water, we have the bush, and, you know, we didn't have mountain bike tracks, but geez, we made those. You know, all of that sort of stuff, you know, it was always back to nature, and our well-being was really good. Like, we had great well-being back in the 80s, and, you know, out all day, come home when the street lights, you know, that actually was a real thing for us. You know, if you wanted to know what someone was doing, you rode your horse there. That's how I did it. Or you walked there, or you rode your bike to Billabong Bay. Now, I talk about that sort of stuff with my kids, and they're like, yeah, no way. They don't even want to walk down the street. Yeah, you know, they don't want to have a face-to-face contact with someone because, hey, let's use our phone. So I think that's going to get a trickier space to negate it in the future, but I wish I could take my kids back in time to experience that. And I think most families try and do that. Our families are very connected to the place we live, and, you know, camp and fish and do all these amazing things that we offer here. Yeah. I don't miss, as a student, I don't miss not doing homework. That space has changed a little bit. I don't miss the scratchy, horrible uniform material, that grey stuff that was itchy as out. I do not miss that. That, yeah, gave me nightmares. I was really fortunate that when I was little, the cane had got out, because I may have got that, and I fortunately did not have to experience that, so that I'm really glad I missed that opportunity. I loved my school experience. I was really, really lucky in the cohort that I went through school with, the teachers I had at that time. I probably miss being an adult and that time's running away, and I don't actually get to go, I can't relive that experience anymore. But, you know, we all keep in touch. We were really lucky, our cohort. We've stayed really connected, and everyone keeps in touch, and it's so lovely to catch up all together. And although we do seem to forget a lot of things these days. I love the dressing up. I guess we've always done that really well at St Helens. So the dressing up space is a fun one. We used to have fairs a lot, like as in that really traditional, you make toffee apples, and I can still remember all those, and have juggling shows. We also used to do, like as fundraisers, we used to have this board, and you have the hole in the minute dunking machine, that's what it's called, and we got to put the teachers in those sorts of things. So I think they were probably some of the funniest things that we you know, we used to enjoy that, tormenting our teachers. I don't think that bit's changed at all, but we had great avenues to express how we felt about people in that way. For a current staff member, we have some amazing teachers. They're great operators. Our job is really hard, and I think my advice would be is trust your knowledge about your craft, love what you do, and but always look after yourself, because if you're not running on full tank, so to speak, you can't give the way we need to give as educators. Yeah.
Great. Would you like to add anything else, Kaelene?
No, I think we've covered it all. I am so privileged to have grown up here and taught here, and as I think I said earlier, be really connected to our families and our community. And, you know, I've gone away and I've come back, but just because this is where I need to be. This is my journey.
Great.
Thank you
very much.